On a road to nowhere, come on inside. Taking that ride to nowhere, we'll take that ride. I'm feeling okay this morning, and you know, we're on the road to paradise. Here we go, here we go. There's a city in my mind, come along and take that ride, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. And it's very far away, but it's growing day by day, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. Would you like to come along, and you can help me sing this song, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. There's a city in my mind, come along and take that ride, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. And it's very far away, but it's growing day by day, it's alright, baby, it's alright. They could tell you what to do, but they'll make a fool of you, and it's alright, baby, it's alright.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. So tonight I have a special guest who is back to join me for a second time. And you know what is so funny? You know how you could see those Facebook memories? I had you 1 year ago yesterday.
Oh, that's so cool.
Isn't that bananas?
Yeah, that is really cool. It's our anniversary.
Yes.
Yes. Happy anniversary of 1 year of knowing each other and 1 year since the show. That's awesome. So much has changed, and yet not. So
yes. And now I have asked Andrew to join us as well.
hi, Andrew.
Because I have,
Nice to see you.
I've been feeling kind of crappy the past 3 days, and Andrew is going to be blocking any kind of, sociopath idiots who dare to come in.
I come with trolls, unfortunately.
Yeah, so, we'll just get that out of the way. I said it on Twitter and Facebook, but let's just be clear. Now, I know my audience is badass. I know my audience is full on, I stand with Tara Reade.
Jenna's sharing some love right here. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Hi, Jenna.
But in case we get any stragglers or whatever, just know y'all are on notice. Okay. Don't even come at us sideways or you're out. Blocked. Done.
Yep.
Now that said, Tara, what we should talk to first.
Thanks for telling me.
Hi, Indy. What we should talk to first is you have a new podcast, and unfortunately, it's on Rockfin. We love Rockfin, but your work, along with Lee Camp and others, totally just got booted by RT. So first, I guess let's address that. Like 2 weeks ago, all of your lives just completely changed and outwent, any kind of income you got from what you did with RT. So can you kind of give us more of a background of why? What was the so-called reason for taking RT down?
Well, I worked for RT International, which is different than RT America. They're kind of separate, but it all happened at the same time. It coalesced with the military, operation that Russia, it started then when it engaged in, it started this vitriol with the US government deciding to, deplatform and censor, and they want one message and one message only and one lens to look through. And that's the Western one. And everyone else's voices were pretty much anti-war voices included, which is mine. I'm very outspokenly anti-imperialist and anti-war. So the U.S. government had issued a report, the State Department did. It was 33 pages calling RT propaganda and, and that it should be shut down. And they were making all these recommendations. And the examples they gave of propaganda was interesting because they were actual real stories that were also printed in other outlets. So it wasn't but when I saw that report, I had a feeling something was coming. And then, but not what, and then it was still sudden. And then, RT America, they only had like 48 hours. And Lee Camp, he brought up his show Redacted, which he now jokes Redacted was redacted. He actually was on there for years, and so found out within, like everyone else, just within that 48 hour, boom, it's over. And so RT got their license pulled in England. I do know that. And they got pulled down in channels here. My podcast and Lee Camp's on the same day. Our podcast got pulled down from Spotify. Mine got pulled down from Google. My articles, it's hard to find. Abby Martin lost all her work, years of work. She's trying to rebuild that it was on YouTube. So yeah, it's been a mess. Now you can find RT on Odyssey and Rumble and on Telegram. Sometimes it's blocked on Telegram too. But you can get Rumble and Odyssey. You can find my podcast, The Politics of Survival. I'm independent now. And INN is helping me. So thank you, Indie News Network. Yes. And Oz, the Roar Media, they help too. And then Reef helps me a lot, and he helps me learn how to do things. He works with INN. So thank you. Big shout out to them. So I'm learning how to do stuff, Joy, and I'm pretty not tech savvy. So I'm learning how to do this, but they're helping a lot. So you can find The Politics of Survival if you look at my link tree. It gives all the links, and it's right on my Twitter profile at Reade Alexandra. So and there's a PayPal, support me, do a Patreon. I'm on Substack too.
So you actually, before you started a podcast, you did come out with a book. Now, I know I've written a book. It was a parody, but it was still a grueling process. Granted, I was going blind during writing it, so it's a bit different. But I know what a grueling process it is to write a book, and especially if it's emotional. So were people receptive to that book?
It got very suppressed. I haven't made any kind of income from it, obviously. And then trolls went after it. I tried to have a book, online book reading of it. I think it'll come back around probably when Joe Biden is no longer president, however that plays out, or when he's investigated for sexual assault and sexual harassment, which I still hold out hope. Because it only
it's my understanding that you can't investigate a sitting president. So do you think that is feasible, that when his...
No, you can. Like with Clinton, they did investigate him. They can investigate Joe Biden. It takes one member of Congress to open an investigation. So they could investigate him. They have not thus far. Now they're starting with Hunter Biden. Today there was they found some interesting links between his family and economic ties, and it wasn't Russia propaganda or Republican propaganda. It was reported out by the Washington Post, actually. So yeah, so all the things that they call the tinfoil conspiracy theories are now true. We're just in upside down world. So
yeah. And I think I told you this before, but the reason I decided to write the Shit Lib parody book is because of the way I saw people behaving online when it came to you. I was like, Democrats are so feminist, and they're so, we want Queen Hillary because first woman and blah, blah, blah. And then the way they treat survivors and the hypocrisy, the absolute disgusting Cuomo-sexual, and it's so abhorrent.
And now they're doing that with Zelensky. Like they're just making this kind of like they were trying to. I don't know. They were trying to make him like some sort of hero and folk hero to women. It's really gross. And
now that Fauci's out of the spotlight, we got to have.
Yeah. It's like I don't know what this rotating,
Select.
I guess. But back to what you're saying about Cuomo. Yeah, the Cuomo survivors, like, look at their lives. They came forward, and then they were starting to get smeared again on News Nation. There was I forget the name of the host because he's just vile, but he was he had on someone who was just bad mouthing Lindsey Boylan, and talking about their work record and trying to discredit them, but didn't have the survivors on or their lawyers or even ask for a statement. It's just we're just in this culture, Joy. I don't really see there's been a shift. I'm trying to chip away, if you will. Yesterday I had on a survivor on my podcast. You can check it out on YouTube or Rockfin, wherever. And it's Eliza Blue. If you follow her on Twitter at Eliza Blue, she's a human trafficking survivor and also an advocate, and she's amazing. She's amazing.
Wow, that is wow.
Yeah, and then there's we talked about like just all the human trafficking, human sex trafficking. Well, there's different kinds of human trafficking, labor, and child sex labor, and all of that, and then there's human sexual trafficking as well. And we talked about the differences in resources, so it's an interesting show. But I just want to continue to lift voices, and I see Lindsay do that a lot. On her, and that's all we can do. We can just try to help other people, because they really, as far as my story goes, they've suppressed it. They've made me a villain, called me a Russian agent, and all of that. She's Russian agent. She likes Putin, blah blah blah. So whatever. So I just
the xenophobia of our country is truly astounding. I mean, for 6 years, we have just been incredibly xenophobic. Russia has become a pejorative. Is calling someone a Russian is automatically an insult. It means you're awful. It means you're disgusting. You're horrible. And we see that now. Andrew, I'm going to call you out.
Right? It's coming from the woke crowd.
Yeah,
that's what's interesting. This bigotry and xenophobia is coming, but really what this is about, and this is the military-industrial complex.
Absolutely.
This is what we've been warned about for years. They are deciding who we hate, who we love, how we think, what we know, what our information is, and they're siphoning it through the technocrats, and censoring and doing whatever and suppressing. To make sure the empire's message gets through, which is we need bombs and bullets, and we have to have enemies. So now it's China, Pakistan, Russia, whoever's next.
And Andrew, I'm actually going to call you out. What's up with your Boston people trying to ban Russian people from entering in the fucking Boston Marathon?
Oh,
yeah, I did see that. I saw that actually today. Yeah, I didn't get it. Yeah, they're banning. I think if I'm correct, I didn't get a chance to read, but I think Russian athletes and such from the Boston Marathon.
So how do they determine, just by the name, accent?
My name is Vladimir. You're out.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. I'm Natasha. Sorry, but I'm Hungarian. Doesn't matter. Right?
Incredible.
Good
Absolutely
God.
Incredible. And
and no one's calling this out. Not to mention just, Joy, the racism, the institutionalized racism that's being kind of projected about the virtue signaling of the Ukraine and to protecting the Ukrainian refugees. What about Palestinians? What about Syrians? What about Iraq? What about Afghanistan? And you've got 1 million children that will starve this year because we took their aid illegally, and that just disappeared from the headlines. Biden took that aid,
blue line,
and it's gone.
That's what we care about. Black and
Yeah,
brown people.
those children would help. Yeah.
Oh, are you pulling that up?
So I'm pulling it up. Yeah.
You're pulling up the New York Marathon?
Ads. Yeah, the article, one of the articles that says
Belarusian
Russian and
Russian.
Belarusian. runners. Yeah, like straight up banned from 2022 Boston Marathon. And then, yeah, it literally just, I guess if they're from and live, from there, currently residing in either country will not be allowed to compete in the 2022 Boston Marathon. The Boston Athletic Association, BAA, they would do that, announced yesterday. So, yeah. But, how nice of them. Russian and Belarusian citizens who are not residents in either country will be able to compete. However, they won't be able to run under the flags of their country. Okay, so yeah. There's
my
that.
God. This is gonna be like, there's gonna be Russian hate crimes. Like, it's absolutely bananas.
Well, there already has been. There's one I saw a report about a child, but you remember the cats? The Russian blue cats were banned from the International Cat Show. Russian cats were banned from the yeah.
Oh my God, that I swore was the Onion. That like a cat.
Yeah, I know, right? And the owners as well. God. Well, I explained to my cat, Little Bear, he's a Russian blue. I explained to him he can't have wet food right now. He's on sanctions. So until he just needs to stop being so warlike, right? He understands. He can't do cat-like activities. He's banned. So yeah.
Oh my word.
I posted Little Bear's picture and I said that. People were like, "Oh, poor cat." And I'm like, "That's right. He's banned. He's on sanctions." Anyway, it's really it's really just so disappointing to see how people are behaving about this. Yeah,
absolutely. And we see this thinking where you see so many people with the Ukraine flag in their bio on Twitter and stuff, and it's this lack of a better term, this blind allegiance to an entire country. I don't even celebrate my own country. I'm not going to put their flag, in there.
Well, yeah, and they keep saying that we're doing democracy. Well, Ukraine's not a democracy. It was known, and if you look at a bunch of headlines, it was known for being very, very corrupt. And and it still is. And many of the elites are laundering money, like Pelosi, John Kerry, Joe Biden's family, and so they have a conflict of interest that they're engaging in here. It's really stark. But the main thing, I wanted to ask you about is what you think about the media, how they're just frothing at the mouth for World War III. It just seems like they're driving us there. They like, there's no talk about diplomacy or like sitting there. It's just, it's pretty aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, well, war is profitable, definitely. By questioning it, you are questioning why Biden just gave the absolute biggest MIC budget in American history, now over $800 billion. To say we don't need that is kind of, a direct FU to Democrats. He ran saying we're going to pull out of Afghanistan. So why wouldn't that lower the MIC budget? But it didn't. He made it bigger, which, but honestly, and I'm interested to hear this take from you as a fellow woman. I can't help but think of this. With the way that people are just like swooning over Mr. Ukraine, do you think aesthetically that is even subconsciously adding to people's devotion to Ukraine?
I think it's just what you're seeing is a very concentrated propaganda weapon. They're using it like war. There's war with weapons, right? This is war with media and with information. And they just admitted today, actually, it was on CBS and NBC, I believe, on the mainstream, that some of the intelligence reports, when they were reporting it out in the media, was faulty and not true. So, yeah. So what we're seeing is they're trying to give us this lens of only the Western lens and not look at all at the multipolar world. Because the fact is, the unipolar world is over economically. This is all about economics. It's all about controlling gas, fuel, and controlling those markets, right? The US wanted the European market. They did not want Nord Stream 2 to open, and it didn't, did it, right? We're having there's all kinds of problems with that now. So what did Russia do? Russia pivoted towards China. And then you have Pakistan, you have India, and you'll have South Africa. And so everything's pivoting to the east economically. The ruble's higher today. As of today, I think it's 75. It's higher than it's ever been. So, and the dollar is not. So and then, you see Boris Johnson from England, and you see Joe Biden of the United States get up and say, hey, we're going to have to suffer a little bit and pay higher prices because of those Russians, right? No, it's because they wanted that. They're making profits from the war. They're making profits from higher gas prices. They're making a lot of money from that. And the elites are fine. We are not. And we are suffering. And the people that are being killed in Ukraine are not fine. And they're basically using, and you and I can we can agree to disagree. So I'm not sure how you feel about this, but I really believe, you might agree with me, I don't know. But I believe from the beginning, the Russians' demands were not that unreasonable. They simply wanted NATO off their borders. They wanted the weapons off their borders, and they wanted Ukraine neutral. Then we have the military operation that came in. I'm anti-war. I don't want people dying, children, women, civilians. That's awful. But we are in a propaganda war right now, because in 2014, there was an American-backed coup, and that's what Julian Assange exposed. And that's why he's paid for it with his life and being imprisoned. He exposed Victoria Nuland. He exposed the elites in the West, what they were doing. And he exposed Ukraine, like what happened. And in 2014, Maidan. And you had 14,000 Russian nationals in the Donbass region get slaughtered by Ukrainian government, neo-Nazis, basically. And they say now in our media, or they try to, that there's no neo-Nazis. I'm sorry, but they were 7% to 12% of the government, and they had guns. So that's just, they can't rewrite history. And Vladimir Putin was trying to get NATO off his borders and to get Ukraine neutral, and did not want a Western-backed leader. That's all they wanted.
And something that Andrew, myself, and our co-host Logan covered on our show Postmortem Breakdown is there is footage from multiple sources coming out of Ukraine's attacking Africans who are trying to leave Ukraine and go to safety. And the Africans are just being pushed to the back. They are not allowed on trains. They're not allowed in cars. They're not allowed to leave. White people only. You go first. African people, tough shit. You're not going anywhere. If you're in harm's way, that's your own fucking problem. And, but yeah, there are no Nazis. So that's the thing. When you see that flag and in somebody's bio, you think, do you really stand with the entire country? Because that's what you're saying. That's what that symbol means. It doesn't say, I choose this over this next to a Russian flag. It literally says, this is who I stand with. And that's scary.
It is very scary. I mean, and what it shows is just, I think people are tired, Joy, in America, where, in other words, they just want the government to be doing what they're supposed to be doing while they're trying to survive and go about their daily business. And so, you and I are and Andrew are looking at media, and we're looking carefully, and we're looking at independent content and trying to get truth. But isn't that sad that we have to work so hard to find truth? That it isn't just there for us, but because we know that there's an agenda behind the mainstream media. And the agenda, as you know from interviewing me last year, I was one of their, on their recipes, right, of villainizing me. So that they made it so that even if you were upset that there may have been a sexual assault, they vilified me to the point where nobody would care. That was the point. That's the playbook. So now they're doing it with Russia, banning, censoring, you know. And like what you brought up about the neo-Nazis, you know, today before the Greek parliament, you know, you had the Azov battalion speaking, and they're neo-Nazis. And and so it's interesting that the woke crowd, so to speak, are supporting them. And so I think there's going to be some backpedaling. You'll see it more and more.
Oh, yeah. I think you are so right. I absolutely feel a hindsight 2020 type thing coming on. And I think it seems like, at least on social media, there's so much of, we told you Putin was a bad guy for 6 years. And this is almost like them trying to validate that, you know, he ruined Queen Hillary, and we told you he was a bad guy all along. If you would have listened to us, this wouldn't be happening. And it's almost a way to rationalize that they weren't being paranoid, you know, like this was, he was,
or deeper than that, right, Joy? I mean, it's to rationalize the fact that the Steele dossier wasn't real, that the blaming of them rigging the election wasn't real. And now it's been revealed that this was propaganda and then now Hillary Clinton's lawyers, of course, under fire and go to prison, that they were engaging in fraud to all of us. So, I mean, we can just live with our eyes closed and just let them tell us what they want and just kind of lay back and like look other ways, you know, you do other things and not pay attention. Or we can, you know, do what you're doing, which is bring it to light, pay attention, talk about it, and not be fooled or dragged into their propaganda war.
It gets exhausting though. Do you ever, like, sometimes, and I get mad that I think about this, but sometimes I'm like, I wonder what it would be like just to have 24 hours where I just don't know what I know. Just 24 hours to be like, ignorance is bliss. I will snuggle with my dog, watch a film, and that's it. Do you ever fantasize about something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we do, but you know, like I was thinking about Julian Assange, and you're doing the event this weekend. You know, he gave his life to try to bring this truth to us, and now he's sitting in Belmarsh prison, and he couldn't even do his wedding properly the way he wanted. And I think about him and all he sacrificed, and I want to keep fighting, you know, but I do rest. I play with my horse. So I have a horse and I hang out with him and I would take walks and I get in nature. That's how I do my decompressing, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Assange is always a good topic to discuss. Yeah, I mean, Stella, you know, she has like no wedding pictures of her with her husband, and you know, Belmarsh, you know, something that Marianne Williamson said, I think it was the last time she was on my show, really interested me. She said, when the Panama Papers were leaked, New York Times and WAPO printed them. So technically, they should be in Belmarsh as well, because Julian's not there because he lied, because he hacked, or anything. He's there because he published something. So they did the same. So, and I thought, you know what? That's a damn good point. I didn't think of it that way. But now, I mean, yeah, I'll be going to DC Sunday and Monday. Sunday night, I will be Marianne's +1 at the like dinner type thing with a comedy show with Lee Camp and Katie Halper and
fantastic.
Good crowd.
Do what?
It's a good crowd.
Good crowd.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And then the next day is 2 protests. We're gonna go to the embassy and do protests there for Julian, and he deserves it. Now, I know you're a very strong supporter, but
and I was invited to go. I've had a little health issue, so I'm staying home. But even before the health issue, I'm a little trepidatious about going to DC. It's just a thing with Biden president. It's, you know, I try to compartmentalize, and I did the Medicare for All down in Los Angeles, but I don't want to go to DC right now.
I do not blame you.
I want him to leave the building. So
I would prefer you hold off for at least another 2 years. Because people are nuts and it only takes one nuts person to yell at you or whatever. So yeah, no. And it gets so expensive to travel too. Like there's so many events I wanted to go to, but but it's interesting, the way that it seems to always be the same people talking about Assange. It really is. Even in so-called indie media, it's not like everybody in indie media talks about Assange. I had on Stephen Donziger, probably one of the biggest highlights of my entire life. And the only other person I've seen him go on really is like Marianne and
Katie Halper,
But it's like, why isn't he asked to go on every single person's show? Why isn't Stella asked to go on every single person's show? Like, and it's just not salacious enough, I guess. What are your thoughts about that?
I don't know. I would like to ask either both of those people, and I probably will. I was waiting to get independent to get going. Before, when I was with RT, there was a little reluctance because of the Russophobia that's so strong. If people go on a show, well, you had me, right? So I'm controversial, and then you had RT, and it was like this double layer. Like, oh, I don't know, So, but yeah, I would love to ask them, and it must have been a great experience talking to Stephen. He did so much work, and I can't believe his ankle bracelet's back on. Like they put that back on, right? It didn't get taken off. I thought that was ordered to be taken off.
It was, and then they said it was a violation. It was taken off, even though he had permission to take it off, and they put it back on.
Well, I had asked Marianne Williamson to be on my show. She declined while I was on with RT. Maybe now I'm independent and I'm now kind of up and going. Maybe she would accept, but I'd like to talk to her about, a real agenda, like what's going on, because people are losing faith in a lot of the progressive candidates because just, the ones that are in office are doing nothing and they're just not getting us there. And my experience with Marianne was this recently. She was on Bill Maher, and Bill Maher just decimated me twice publicly without ever speaking to me. I mean, really badly. Like if you look it up, it's really bad. And it really hurt me that someone with such a huge platform would, attack me like that and then not allow me to speak up. And then Marianne was on a show, and I told her about it, and I sent her the link and stuff. And she, it was really lovely. Instead of like art, because I was kind of outraged, she sent me a very nice apology and said she didn't know that happened and she hadn't seen it and she was sorry, and that meant a lot to me that she took the time to say, hey, I'm sorry, So that was cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No one else does. So yeah.
I mean, well, Marianne is she's literally the only reason I have my blind accessibility equipment. She did a fundraiser for me. And I wouldn't even be doing my show right now if it weren't for her. She is the kindest soul. But yeah, I mean, you do meet, some really great, kind people along the way, but you do have a lot of assholes too.
I mean, and it's okay to spice it up and to agree to disagree, right? It's okay to argue or to debate on the show, right? Like if you have someone on that you don't agree with, it's challenging, right?
Absolutely. To be honest with you, I didn't know Bill Maher did that either. I find him absolutely repulsive and don't even watch him. I find him
he sucks.
So disgusting. I know sometimes he has great guests, but I don't even watch them because I can't even stand his voice. Like I find him just gross.
This was on his HBO show that he did that?
Yeah, he did it twice. He did it once on a podcast, a big podcast, and a huge one. I forget who it was. And then he did it. Someone, the God. I'm thinking
Charlemagne.
Yes, he did it there.
Oh.
And then he also did it on a show. He did an opening monologue about me with my picture and like just decimating me, saying I was, I love Putin and I love Russia and that blah, blah, blah. You should not believe me. And that, it was so bad. I blanked out most of it. It was pretty bad. It was almost kind of traumatizing, actually.
Sure.
And then I got, of course, just so much hate and vitriol afterwards. So, and I don't want to dwell on anything negative like that. Because I came forward about a very powerful person, and this is what happens, and I'm tougher now for it. But I wanted to, one of the conversations you and I were having, Joy, at one point was about Medicare for all. And I wanted to share with you what I just went through.
Yes, absolutely.
I was supposed to be on your show last week. And so I appreciate you being so gracious about me having to postpone.
Oh, I was a nervous wreck. I was like, oh my God, is she okay? I was like messaging Indy, like, wait, is that Indy now?
He said, I used to love Bill Maher years ago, but man, he's went full blown shit lib. Agreed. He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he used to kind of push back on the status quo, and he doesn't do that anymore. None of them do.
It's wild to think how, when you look at old clips with him and George Carlin, right? Mm-hmm. How much he used to you could just see how much he admired George Carlin, how much he wanted to be him. And so it's just fascinating. I always think to myself, if George Carlin were still alive today, what would he think about who Bill Maher is now and what he's become? Because it's polar opposites now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So last week I actually had thought I was having a panic attack, and I needed to go to the hospital because it went on for hours. My heart was out of rhythm and it was going too fast. And so my daughter was like, call an ambulance. And you know why I didn't, Joy? Because I was afraid of that $10,000 plus $20,000 bill. And I was like, no, I said, I'll just drive myself. She's like, you can't. She was in Seattle. You can't drive yourself, And I'm like, yes, I can do this. I can do this. And almost fainted twice. They had to get me in the parking lot. And then when I made it in, I drove myself there. I was on the table, and unfortunately, when they were pushing the medicine, I wasn't responding. My heart wouldn't go back into rhythm. And so the nurse was almost crying, and she was like, she just all of a sudden had tears. It was really, because I was kind of joking around, like I do, because I tend to minimize and compartmentalize. That's probably why I was in that situation. And she's like, you're not responding to the medications, and you're losing your blood pressure's going down. And then my vitals started going down. And she said, is there someone we can call? So it was really serious. And I remember it felt sort of like the sinking feeling, like you're just sort of fading away. That's kind of how it feels. Not anything painful, but what I wanted to say about women's health is that we present heart attacks different than men. And so I was having a heart attack without knowing it, thinking it was a panic attack and minimizing it because we don't present the same symptoms. And they kind of mimic panic attacks. So anyway, lovely nurse, she stayed with me. Finally, at 1 a.m, my heart went back into sinus rhythm so they didn't have to do further intervention or any kind of emergency surgery or anything. And I'm on heart meds. One of them they wanted to prescribe, Joy, was $500 a month. And I was like, I can't do that. So I'm going to meet with a cardiologist and we'll see other meds, and I'm doing something else in the interim. But I wanted to bring it up, not for sympathy or anything, or, that. I just wanted to make the point that I am just one of millions of people that are going through this. It's like one medical event can just throw you into this. How do I pay for this? And how do I work? And how do I pay rent, or mortgage or whatever it is. Right. So anyway, I just wanted your thoughts on, have we gotten anywhere? They just had Obama at the White House bragging about his, right? Like, you speak to this about the Medicare for all, because I'm just furious about it.
Well, stuff like that, it's so frustrating. I've taken the Uber to the ER 3 times. I mean,
I had to one time as well. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, it was.
I didn't think they would because of the liability, but okay.
I just didn't tell them.
Yeah, I didn't tell them I was going for myself.
Yeah. I had like an eye problem. I was freaking out. It was like 3 and 4 in the morning. I just called an Uber. They were like, at the end, it was like, so what do you do?
Your leg is bleeding or something. You're like,
yeah.
Can I have a towel? I'm just gonna. Seems like my leg is like. I don't know.
The best part was at the end. He was like, so like you have a shift at the hospital, and I was just like, no, I just have something wrong, so I'm going there. Sorry, I didn't tell you because, I didn't want you to freak out. But it was at the end anyway. But then he was like, all right, well, feel better. Yeah.
I was like, please don't let me barf in here. Please don't let something.
Really?
But, yeah, like, I mean, and people do that all the time. I mean, I've gone through it. So many people have. And, as far as Medicare for All, I do know Bernard is reintroducing Medicare for All legislation next month in May, which is a big deal because simply because now there's supposedly over 150 reps who have signed on. Mm-hmm. Before we had 15. Right. And there was no way it was going to pass. And, most of them were like Kamala, Elizabeth Warren, and all the other shit libs that said they supported it, but they only said that because they knew it wasn't going to pass. Now we supposedly have over 150. So it will be reintroduced next month. Last week on Tuesday, we saw a lot of virtue signaling on the floor. We need Medicare for All. We need it. People need it. Mm-hmm. Why aren't you talking about it? Why do you never talk about it? Why are you saying
tweet about it once in a while? Yeah, but they're not. There's not anything substantive being done. And what happened to the squad? I mean, where are they? Like, they're not doing anything. Vote them out.
Us at M for All, we have reached out. Mm-hmm. We are sending emails to every single person in the squad, Progressive Caucus, what have you, and said, we liked your speech last week. We are Medicare for All activists, some of us disabled, some of us trans, some of us people of color, and we would like you to, actually act on it. And, I said we should even include like clips of their speeches and be like, this was really powerful when you said XYZ, and just be like, we heard you. Now it's time for you to hear us, period. So, as far as that, we do have something big happening in July again. But, aside from general action and Bernard putting out the legislation again, I just don't know. I don't know. What is it going to take for, okay, so you have David Axelrod. Did you see that mess? Freaking
Go on.
Yeah. He's bitching and moaning about a $600 prescription when he owns $13 million.
Right.
And he's like, he's saying it so that he expects empathy. Like, he really cannot believe. And I'm like, dude, like, people would kill for $600 prescriptions.
That's literally the healthcare that the person you advised put forward. Like
so, you need insurance, dude. Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing is there's been a lot of discussion, but there's been no action. But then you have half the Congress owned by, or more than half, let's face it, both Democrats, Republicans are, they're owned by pharmaceutical companies, right? Pfizer made, how much did they make? Almost $1 trillion. I think the three, Pfizer and Moderna, and I forget the other, I'm blanking on it. They made almost $1 trillion during the pandemic. That's not a small amount of money, okay? So of course, and people want to question it because they're like, well, wait a second. And you made legislation so that no one can sue you. Pfizer did, right? It's just interesting. Like things are just, when corporate lobbies are running the Congress and then the Congress is beholden to them. Nothing's going to get done. So I'm seeing a message that says July 30th in DC, details coming soon for Medicare for All. Yay.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't know if I was allowed to say anything, so I was just like, something's coming up.
Yeah, they put it on there. So so we need affordable medical, access to medical. So let me ask you a question. I mean, like, about that. Have you seen anything? Because one of the things that happened to me in the ER was the person next to me was an older gentleman who needed a wheelchair, and they didn't have any wheelchairs available for him. He didn't have the money to purchase one. And they didn't have any wheelchair for him. And he had like something wrong with his leg where he couldn't walk at all, not even with crutches. And they made all kinds of calls just trying to get a wheelchair.
Oh my God.
So medical equipment. So I forget, like, we need to remind people that medical equipment is really essential and it's not covered at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's an absolutely great point. We see these things more and more where, my white cane, I paid for that, and it's not like it was $10. I had to pay for it myself. Anything, these things are not covered by insurance, even though I'm going to need a service dog. That is not insurance. That's $50,000. Now I'm applying for a grant.
$50,000? That's as much as a car.
Yep. I'm applying for a grant, Tesla. And they think it'll be approved.
Tesla.
But
self-driving ar.
Yeah, dude, one of those freaking electric cars Biden said we could buy to save money on gas.
Right.
Well, I'll just buy the dog.
So yeah, okay.
And then it's $3,000 every year to get it licensed. Now, like I said, they think I should get a grant for it, so I'm not like super worried about it. But what about people who can't get a grant?
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like $50,000.
Yeah. So, and you have access to information that other people, they don't even, it's overwhelming. That's how to get that information.
I'm just thinking of, like, if you can't make the payment, someone comes to your house and like literally takes the dog from, like, that's just absurd. Like,
yeah. Would they really take the dog if you couldn't make the payments?
Oh yeah, if they don't pay the $3,000 each year to get it licensed, absolutely. Then it's illegal.
Wow.
You're not allowed to use it as a service dog if it's not licensed.
Well, I hope you like your service dog, and I hope you're able to get one that, serves you well.
Yeah, I'm not at that yet, thankfully, but it's definitely, in the future. But yeah, I was researching prices and stuff, and I was just like, if this isn't approved by a grant, I am never getting one, because there's no way I'm ever gonna do a GoFundMe for a freaking $50,000 dog. Like, hell no.
Yeah, you better come with a diamond collar. Right.
Yeah, seriously. Like, what is it? Did this
better have bling. That's all I'm saying. The dog must have bling. and the dog has to get along with your other dog. Like, there can be
exactly. I wish. See, if Duchess wasn't such an asshole, I would just try to train her.
Maybe you could just certify Duchess, but then Duchess.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my God.
But you don't think Duchess would rise up to the tasks? She'd be like, get it yourself. Like, right? Her name is Duchess. So
I know, exactly. That's where we went wrong.
Like naming your dog Defong, whatever. Like, I had a cat named Che Guevara after the revolution. I name my pets after revolutionaries at times. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Andrew, do you have any questions for Tara?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, we kind of went a little over this before, but I guess with all of this censorship that is happening, right, with RT, and it, once RT happened, then YouTube even started cracking down even more, right?
Yeah.
And more voices got suppressed. So I think it's just for particularly people who were growing their audiences, right? Who had very limited audiences as it was, and then got suppressed, which has happened. What do you say in terms of the best ways in order to continue getting your voice out and heard and such with all of these things happening?
Well, with writing the book, I wanted to take back the narrative and control it myself, because it's my history with Joe Biden, not anyone else's. My history with the media, not anyone else's. So, that was important to me to get that out there. As far as like podcasts and getting your voice that way out there, I'd say just use different platforms. Twitter is going to get more and more. It's already suppressing a lot. It just knocked off a couple of accounts yesterday. I think Scott Ritter was one. It suppressed some other ones. Anyone, and then it labeled George Galloway, who was like years in the English Parliament. I mean, he's the Scottish politician. They labeled him Russia affiliated. He's not Russia affiliated media. And it was bizarre. So they still have that on his personal account. The fact that they're like Caleb Malkin, right? On his personal Twitter account, he's labeled Rachel Blevins, Fair and Balanced, all the people from our team, Lee Camp. I don't know if he still has that on there, but so they're censoring that way as well as just eliminating the accounts. And I think it's only going to get worse. And now Elon Musk, didn't he buy 9%? Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
He what?
Yeah, I think Elon Musk bought 9% of Twitter 2 days ago.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
So that'll make things better.
Yeah.
He's gonna make it.
I really wonder, because it's gonna be the world according to Elon. I don't know. Like, is he gonna suppress everyone? And
the Elon will coup whoever we want. Musk.
I don't know. So people are going to Gitter. I haven't been there, and I'm not a Republican, so not I have friends that are Republicans. It doesn't bother me, but like Gitter was at first known for that, but now apparently everyone's going over to Gitter because they're getting suppressed on Twitter. So some of these platforms that were labeled as conservative or Republican are now just kind of a mix, because people are just looking for other ways to get their voice out. Yeah, like Rockfin, Rumble, Twitch, just try to get it out there. But I know that they are suppressing voices a lot on some of those platforms. So
right.
Not on Rockfin and Rumble. They do not. No, neither does Odyssey.
And Twitch is owned by Amazon, right? I think.
With who?
Isn't Twitch owned by Amazon? Maybe I'm getting that wrong.
Yeah, by Jeff Bezos. Yeah, see, you have the technocrats where they're just consolidating their power and the platforms.
And that's what I say.
I'm like, what if someone offers Rockfin a big bundle of money? We're screwed. Like, we are screwed.
Yeah. Hopefully they won't do that.
Yeah, please, Rockfin, if you're watching, please don't. But it's something we see all the time. This stuff happens, and I do a monthly show with Ron Placone, and we talk about net neutrality a lot. And there's a lot of things coming that is just
really terrifying. I don't know a lot about that subject. I'm learning, but yeah, is it bad, Joy?
It's going to contribute to censorship even more.
Things are great. Everything's just
I know.
Well, I want people to understand, people who don't do what we do. It really, the word censorship, you may be desensitized to it, but it really is a job in itself to try and use certain words so you don't get taken down. And like, how many times, Andrew, have we said Sia instead of,
Yeah.
Or how many times did we say Julie instead of Julian? And things like that. It's like, it's such work. And then finally we're just like, fuck it. If they take us down, then, it's on them.
Remember last year when Facebook had my name, Tara Reade, I was suppressed. It was called election interference or something.
Yes.
And yeah, that was last year. I deleted my Facebook account and my Instagram. I deleted it. I just decided, and I had a lot of followers, but I just decided when I heard them expand their hate language to Russians, talking about, that it was okay to say to kill Russian soldiers or kill Russians. I found it so morally reprehensible that I don't know. I just decided to delete. Yeah. I just feel strongly, I stand with my RT brothers and sisters too. They got death threats. They got all kinds of problems. And I don't like that hatred directed towards them. And a lot of them aren't Russian, at all. Some of them are English, some of them are American, they're from all over the world. So
I remember 2 years ago, the last job I worked with 2 women who moved to the States from Russia, and they were like, I don't understand why you people hate us so much. And I was like, I don't either. Like, and then it made me think, I was like, holy shit, I can't, and then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, as Russian people, they must think we are just fucking mad. Like, we are nuts. And we are. And I thought, how crazy would it be to be a Russian in America right now? Like, with all that hate, it's truly astounding.
Yeah.
What do you, what do you suggest? You are a survivor. People like you and Rose McGowan, you guys, you inspire so many of us. Shout out to Rose. I love you so much.
I love Rose too.
You guys inspire so many people. And as fighters, what do you say to, to people who just get so discouraged? Not even just, as far as women, but even in any respect, when you're just, totally defeated. What gets you through it?
I tend to rely a lot on the support system that I've built, like, and I mean, reaching out, like I reach out to you, I've reached out to some of my supporters, like Avalon Claire, like INN, I reached out to Indy and say, hey, I've reached out to Caleb even, Caleb Maupin, I've said, hey, I'm in trouble. I'm struggling like with something professional or whatever, but you have to be okay with just reaching out and saying, hey, I'm not okay right now. I'm not okay right now. This is what's wrong. And it's okay to do that. We're all human. We're here to kind of help each other through this mess, theoretically. And I want to be there for other survivors too. And I have people reach out to me and say, I'm in a bind. I don't know what to do. And it's not about like, I don't mean like just mutual aid or economic. I'm talking about emotional. Like, I've hit a wall, I've hit, whatever. And I think having those conversations, we need to be able to name our emotions that we're having and honor it and not deny it, suppress it, and compartmentalize. And I'm saying this because I didn't do it, because I had a heart attack, right? I compartmentalized and I suppressed it. Somebody would ask me, how are things? I'm fine. I'm strong. Well, okay. I crashed on a table last week. I'm not like, I'm fragile too. And so I'm strong inside spiritually, but my body got tired of all the stress. And it's okay to say, I'm a little tired. I need a break. I need a rest, or I need to fight this battle. For me, I do well with projects. So, I'm really focusing some of my podcast episodes on lifting up other survivors. So what I would say to survivors is find that niche that makes you feel activated and alive and put your focus there, but also honor your feelings. And a lot of times in this country, we're not using a lot of emotional intelligence. We're not using it in the geopolitical world with diplomacy. Claire Daly just gave the most powerful speech at the EU because the EU has banned Russia, which is very destructive. The UN Security Council did that today, and that's breaking relations in a way that's going to harm, for probably a generation, harm everyone in the world. But Claire Daly gave a powerful speech that you don't get peace by giving more weapons. You don't get war. You don't get the end of war by then creating more war. The only answer to all of this is through diplomatic roads. And so if we do that in a microcosm in our lives, like when we have a conflict with someone, it's trying not to use violent language. It's trying to use our emotional intelligence, and it's trying to reach out and sometimes know when to take a break and when to agree to disagree and pull back. Because sometimes it's just not all about being right, right? Like, you know, there are a lot of people who adamantly don't believe me. And I'm going to share a story, and it's very painful, but I'm going to share it because it just happened and it's the truth. My cousin, my daughter called some of my family members when, when this happened, which is a natural thing to do. And it was a cousin from a long time ago whom I was very close to, who's very close to my mother. She's older, but she didn't like that I came forward about Biden. And she's like, her boyfriend is a Biden fan. And she's an older woman. And she didn't like that I did that. Anyway, so she texted me this really formal, sort of empty text. And I just wrote back, I said, you know what? I almost died. And I've been through hell for 2 years. And this formal, empty, devoid of emotion text doesn't help me. If you want to have an authentic conversation with me and talk to me about your position, and I'll tell you about what I went through, then let's talk. But otherwise, it doesn't make any sense for us to communicate like this. She answered back, your belief system is your belief. And I said, being sexually assaulted and sexual harassment isn't a belief system. This happened to me. This isn't about politics. And then she wrote back, time to say goodbye. And I told my daughter, I go, what a thing to say to someone who just went through what I went through. Like, I know she meant it like she was not going to have a conversation with me. But right. Like when you read it a certain way, it was kind of, you know what I mean? Dark, right? And I just thought to myself, okay, that person's not safe for me right now. Like, I'm not in a position where I can handle that from a family member. So like, I would expect that kind of response from a troll, but not from someone I'm related to by blood. That's the kind of painful things. But, so what I would say to a survivor is don't be ashamed of that. Like, you will have people betray you in such a way that is so, it's so soul wrecking in a way that you have to get through it and look at it as a lesson. Okay, how can I authentically communicate with this person in the future, if at all? How do I create a safe space around me so that I don't have to let in that kind of vitriol, right? So anyway, that was my story I wanted to share.
Wow, that's intense, and that's where the if the fact that you came forward was just so brave, but the fact that you came forward and it was against a famous person, and it was against someone who's been famous for 40 years, and it's about a person who was considering running for president, like that made you like brave times 10. Because we hear so much about women who just don't, have the strength to come forward. And it is so understandable why. But then you add these other elements, that it's someone well-known, and it's someone who has money, and it's someone beloved, and you add these things to it. And it's just like, you amaze me. I cannot even fathom.
In 1993, when it happened, and I tried to get justice, I filed the report, I did all those things, and they didn't investigate him. I gave up kind of for a long time. I mean, I gave up hope. And I actually kind of thought when he was vice president, I literally thought, even though it was upsetting, I thought, well, maybe he's changed. Maybe this was just my experience and he's changed, right? There was this, because this is in the land of many things are true at once. Because he wasn't like a Republican, right? I was a Democrat. He was doing Democrat things. He authored the Violence Against Women Act. Right. That's very cognitive dissonance, right? This is someone I trusted and respected. So it wasn't easy. So what I would say is that, yeah, you're right. It took, but it's more than just, it happened. It's just my history. I just revealed it. when I was coming forward too, he was going to drop out of the presidential race, and then he decided to stay in. I don't know what would have been different had he dropped out. I wonder sometimes. So, it's just you can't imagine, I guess. And then everyone recently said, "Oh, he won't be president that long." He's still president. I'm like, when is he going to not be president? I don't have to hear his name.
Decline is not getting better.
Yeah.
No.
And if he was doing a great job, I would almost feel better. But look at this, Joy. We're almost to World War III. The country is in shambles. Not one of the progressive agenda items have come through legislatively. Not one.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I missed something.
You didn't. No. Unfortunately, you did not.
But he gets an A. Apparently, from one of
the media says he does.
From Mila Jayapal, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hell, I maybe even vote for the asshole. I didn't this time, but maybe I'd even vote for. Well, I probably wouldn't, but maybe people would even vote for the asshole if he did 1881A. Give everyone health care. You want your approval numbers better? 1881A.
Or end student debt.
Yeah, like
not take us to World War III, not take us to a conflict with China,
not expand offshore drilling in the Gulf of Mexico.
Right? Is that back on the agenda? I thought that was off. Oh, it's back on. Of course it is, because now we have to rely on domestic energy. So yeah, I worked really hard as a young person on the Marine Sanctuary Act on the west coast of California, actively, and I just hope that stays safe. Monterey and all that area, that's all under the Marine Sanctuary, because it protects so many creatures, so many, whales and dolphins and fish and, fragile ecosystems. So,
yeah.
But I feel like, like a lot of those things, like the fracking is coming back, right?
Yeah.
So all that work that activists did to prevent, yeah.
And police, all the police. I think me and Joya this past Monday, we were talking about how he's pushing local governments to use some of the American Rescue Act funds to fund more of the police and such. So,
who thought he wouldn't do that? I mean, I knew that. I worked for him, but he's always been pro.
He's always been.
He did not lie to you guys. He did not dupe you guys.
He tells you who he is. He tells everybody who he is. He's a neocon.
Yeah. I think he's a Republican. I don't even think he's a neolib. I think he's just a Republican. I mean, you go up to him, you talk about climate change. He says, go vote for someone else. You go up to him, you ask him about, immigration, go vote for someone else. That was his answer to everything. So I was like, all right, fuck you, I will.
Oh, that was his answer about me. If you believe Tara Reade, go vote for someone else. I know.
And I was like, I sure will.
Yep. What I did.
I didn't need your permission, but I was gonna anyway, and now I will, and I'm gonna throw it in your face if you lose.
Well, you've been an activist for a long time, Joy. Do you feel like there's been any progress on any of the issues that you've been really passionate about?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Right. So no silver lining right now.
No.
We're not in a silver lining moment. Okay.
We're not. Unfortunately, I was hoping, with the pandemic and so many people losing jobs and so many people going homeless and that the direct action would be way above what it is right now. Way above. But we're just not seeing numbers. We're not seeing people organizing nearly as much. I think a lot of it is depression. I think a lot of it's defeatism. Yeah, I mean, you look at other countries, man. This dude pissed me off. Let's all get in the street. And then 100,000 people are marching in the streets,
Remember when they were firing horse manure at Macron's mansion? Why don't we do that? The French just have it down. They really have an art to their protests that's Yeah.
Oh my God, where was this? Andrew, I think we talked about it. Their one government official pissed them off, and they literally blockaded him in with bricks and cement, and said they would only knock it down if he agreed to do what they wanted him to do.
Yeah, and can you imagine, Joy, if we did that here though, they'd have us in prison.
Oh, no.
yeah.
Well, we'd probably be dead. Yeah.
Well, look at January 6th. I mean, like, I don't approve of what happened, obviously with violence, but like, they're extending sentencing guidelines. It's pretty remarkable, like what's going on. And it's just kind of quietly happening over to the side because everything else is such a shit show. But yeah. It's interesting to see now we have the fall, which I am dreading, by the way, just for personal reasons. We have the fall coming with the elections. So what's your prediction for the Democrats?
Loss and happiness, because their numbers are going to go back up, their donations are going to go back up, and it's not our fault, the Republicans, blah blah blah.
It's the Russians, remember? It's not Republicans anymore, it's just all Russians' fault.
Well, that's true too. Wait, what was that? Hillary sold 20% of our uranium to Russia. Was that her? Yeah, it was. I forgot about that. There's no truth to that article. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, what was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I mean, I would love it if people would check out, independent content like yours, like make sure we're tuning into your show, make sure we're turning into my show. Independent News Network is really cool. It's a lot of different creators, and all of us don't necessarily all have the same views either. It's kind of interesting, but we all really give each other support, and Indy's been wonderful. Roar Media is another one, women in media. So just check us out. Check out my link tree on my Twitter handle, which I was really happy to get. And if you guys want to get that, it's kind of cool because you can put all your links, since we have to be on multiple platforms, on there. And I'm on Telegram a lot. Telegram doesn't, it does, and it doesn't censor, but Telegram's good too. So check out Telegram. I am going to be writing a little bit more. I took a break last week, but I'll be on Substack. So,
Awesome.
Yeah. And, I'm working on my book, my novel, The Last Snow Tiger. So I want it. It's the year of the water tiger. So I want to get it out this year.
Awesome.
I'm determined.
Yeah, I've been writing a lot as well, and I finally got up the nerve today to send my piece from yesterday to Jacobin, and said I'm really noticing a lack of disabled representation, and I would appreciate if you would consider me. And I mean, because I'm noticing, I subscribed to Jacobin and in these times for years and years, and I'm like, where are the disabled writers? Like, where are they? So I'm hoping that, places will start opening the door.
I hope so too. That's important. That's really important.
Yeah. So fingers crossed.
Okay. I will send I don't know anyone over there. I read it, but I don't know. I mean, I know some of the reporters, but I don't know the process. Yeah, I've been having an interesting time I'm doing Substack. Substack's amazing. You should, I don't know if you do that ever, but that's fun. You can even
I have, do you know who Elias Cepeda is?
Yes, I love him.
He's my
shout out to him.
He lets me use
he's a jiu-jitsu bro. Yeah.
He does, like, he publishes mine on his.
Oh, fabulous. I thought I saw it there. Okay, good, because I read his stuff. I'm subscribed to him. So can we do, okay. All right, so then okay, good. All right.
Yeah, he's my buddy.
And I'm trying to do my articles audio as well, because people don't always have time for reading. So I like audio, do it, and that's helpful. Yep. In fact, I listen to a lot of, I do that with Matt Taibbi's articles, because sometimes I don't have time to, to read it. So I'll like listen to it while I'm doing something else. He's been on fire lately. So that's been nice to listen to some of his work.
Yeah, I'd love to have him on the show. I just have like no way to get a hold of him whatsoever.
I don't know. I think through Katie Halper, probably because of Useful Idiots.
Right.
Aaron Mate is fantastic. His writing, Glenn Greenwald. Those are the people I go to for sanity because I can't handle CSNBC.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining me again. Thank you, Andrew, for helping me out. I didn't did we have to ban anyone?
No, this was a good crowd.
Yes.
Very supportive.
Yay! Very supportive. Yay. That's nice to hear. Good luck with say hello and give my love to everyone at the comedy show and the Julian Assange thing. I was supposed to be there and I'm there in spirit. And
Awesome.
I'll be doing my thing online.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be going live in DC for the Julian Assange events Sunday and Monday. I was on Status Coup earlier today. Jordan interviewed me about monetary situations from disability, not just because of healthcare, but waiting for Social Security to be approved and just basically all the stuff that goes with it. So it got pretty intense. So definitely check that out. When he posts that, it should be posted shortly. But again, please follow Tara. Everything you do, I love your writing. Absolutely love it. And you are more than simply a woman's advocate, even though that's no little thing. You're very knowledgeable on many topics. So I want people to check you out to realize like you speak on many, many things. So thank you so much again for all your work and advocacy and just for being an awesome ally.
Well, thank you. It's been so nice to be on your show and to see you again and to be with all of you. And Andrew, it was nice to meet you. And and I didn't know about the marathon thing, so that's kind of interesting. So, good luck Sunday and Monday, and I'll be watching. Joy, I'll share on social media. So everyone needs to pay attention about Julian Assange because it's basically all our freedom. All our freedom is at stake.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Tara. Much love.
Bye-bye.
Take care.